I guess, presentation of the joke wasn't even funny. Like, be creative if we're going to do this stuff. And that just wasn't creative.
You know, one thing I keep thinking about with this whole stupid controversy, if the NFL was going to script and fix games, why the Kansas City Chiefs? Why wouldn't it be the New York Giants or the Dallas Cowboys or somebody that a lot of people care about? Why would it be the Kansas City Chiefs? Think about it.
Well, and the biggest thing is say it's scripted. This is where the conversation really falls apart, right? Like with this group right here, right? There's 5 of us on screen. The odds of you keeping a secret is pretty low, right? Like somebody's going to say something dumb. You mean to tell me with 121 refs and then whatever front office people that have to be involved, and that's 121 refs today, and we're talking over the course of years. And if you remember 3 years ago, we had 15 refs retire. So, I mean, if we're taking all of that into consideration, you got like 200 people involved. You mean to tell me somebody didn't become a whistleblower or something dumb out of that process? I mean, come on, give me a break.
Don't use common sense, Bo. Common sense doesn't work in these arguments.
Well, I mean, you can all say, like, if there was going to be one guy that decided he was not going to, play along with everybody and would love to be the whistleblower on this, it would be Jerry Jones, right? Like, there's no way Jerry Jones is going to sit back and be like, you know what? I'm okay losing. I'll lose.
Great
Well,
point.
what if Jerry Jones's personality or lack thereof is going to say, yeah, I'm okay with being a loser. I'm good with that. Let Kansas City get those wins.
I agree. And for those who are just tuning in now, we talked about Bo covering the East-West college football game. And we're also now talking about Keith's favorite subject. I'm not sure because I think James was the only one on this panel that would tell. I think we would all be quiet about any kind of secrets we had. But James, I think, is the one we'd have to watch out for. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Well, my nickname is Canary, so I mean, I will probably sing a little bit. I couldn't do it. I mean, if I was a big part of that, if there was, I mean, I would keep it. I mean, because I'm pretty sure if, let's just say there's some big secret here that everybody's conspiring to keep this big secret. I mean, there's got to be a lot of money involved. So I'm pretty sure if to keep me quiet, you're gonna have to pay me a lot of money to do that. So yeah, there's no way. I mean, it's just stupid. It's just my thing is why. I mean, where is journalism gone? I mean, it's just why are you asking these dumb questions like that? That don't make any sense.
Social media drives journalism now, not the other way around. That's what's funny here.
I mean, so the thing is like for shows like ours, when people bring it up, do you gas it up a little bit? Sure, because it's funny and people react to it, whatever. But if you're in a situation where you're actually interviewing and stuff, I mean, come on, like nobody really thinks that's. I mean, tinfoil hat people do, sure, but like your general populace doesn't really think that this is all scripted. There's too many moving parts.
I mean,
somebody sat down and wrote this question down. I mean, that asked Travis Kelce that question. They didn't look at this and say, does that make any sense to ask that asinine question to somebody? It's like, wow. I mean, I can't take it.
So think about it this way. When you see a really bad ad on TV, right? Similar to this question, you know the worst part about that? That was the best one in the room, right? Like that was the best option they came up with. I hate to see what other questions he had on his sheet.
Well, I feel like this way, right? Like that guy had to have thought this is going to be the moment. This is going to be the thing that allows me to be in the spotlight, that allows people to talk about me and my question. Even if I don't think any of us know his name or who the individual is, but that's their 15 seconds in the sun, right? Like we always get that one person that shines during NFL's media week with the Super Bowl. And this guy just happens to be, he got his 15 minutes and congrats to you, my dude. but no one even knows who you are. Like, because most of the clips don't even have your name in the question.
Right.
Yeah, you
Right,
got to
let's-
at least do that. The hi, this is Bo with Football Talk. Before you go and put your foot in your mouth, right?
So that way people can look you up. Again, either be really funny with it or be smart about it.
Or get punched in the face, then you'll go viral as well.
Oh, I didn't see that. Did Kelsey threaten him?
No, he just said. He just said,
mean-
"Great question. Next, what's next?"
We
That's
can
it.
start that rumor right here. Like, if we want to
We
get
could. We could.
Oh man,
Let's see how much legs we can get. That Travis Kelsey got this guy's home address, and he's going to be visiting him.
Interesting. Very interesting. All right. So as far as the game goes, right? I mean, I know some of us got the Chiefs. A couple of us got the Chiefs. A few of us got the Eagles. Should be a good game. I'm hoping for anyway. I think it will be. MVPs, you know, the three main MVPs, I think. Chiefs would have to win, but Patrick Mahomes is one of them. And then on the Eagles, you probably have Barkley, maybe Jalen Hurts.
Yep.
Are there any other MVPs that you think could be considered? If you think
those are
about
the
like
top
Chris
three betting ones.
Jones,
Chris Jones, maybe if he
uh,
makes a couple of big plays.
Yeah,
Um,
no, those are the top three betting odds. Or,
I mean,
or
I'd even go
Jalen
AJ
Saquon.
Brown. Like, we've
Mahomes.
seen AJ Brown have some games. So I mean,
Yeah.
AJ Brown's got a maybe not again, like not those three guys because we know it's a quarterback and running back type thing if they have a good day. But if AJ Brown just goes off, I can see that happening.
So for AJ Brown to get it though, he would have to have Jalen Hurt also gets hurt. Because otherwise, all those scores also go to Jalen Hurts.
So
I got
then
a dark horse.
We go with this. We go with this scenario. AJ Brown gets 3 interceptions, but or 3 touchdowns, but Jalen Hurts throws like 4 interceptions, and there we go.
I got a dark
And
horse.
somehow still win, that would be amazing. Because nobody catching an L is getting the MVP.
Yeah, because one pretty much cost him the Super Bowl in 2022. But I got a dark horse. I would say that Jalen Carter, if he can stop Mahomes, I could see him being a dark horse getting the MVP. He's probably going to get pressure on him for sure.
If he could get a couple of sacks and like a strip sack or
Yeah,
maybe
absolutely.
a line interception return for a touchdown, I could see that.
Yeah, me too. I think Curtis
That guy's
McDuffie.
I'm here for it.
I think McDuffie could too. If McDuffie gets a few interceptions, returns one for a touchdown, defensive backs have gotten him in the past.
Possible.
So that's a. Of course, we're talking long shots here. As Bo said, the top three are what most people will be betting on. But I know somebody who likes to bet, the underdog and likes to bet, and take the extreme odds. Who might be on his panel.
They just hate money. They just walk up to the window like, take my money. You want to place a bet? Nope. Just
Xavier Worthy would be a good value pick too. Xavier Worthy could get a couple of scores here.
How have we gone this far and not brought up like Travis Kelsey? Like Taylor Swift is going to be there. Maybe he balls out for his girlfriend. I mean, it's a possibility.
Have you seen how slow he's looked all year though? Like he's going to make the catches, but he's not going to be doing a lot of run after the catch.
But that's my thing is like whenever you got guys that are so slow that they look like they're running in slow motion, a la Jason Witten, they just get catches, man. 3 yards at a time. 3 yards at a time. That's all you need, baby.
But what?
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, Keith.
Kelsey's got that one little spin. He makes that same little spin right. I don't understand why teams never stop this because when he's got that one play when he curls in, he catches the ball here, he turns right and gets an extra 10 yards every time. And why don't they always go to the right? Because he never goes left. Never.
Well, no, it's because he's going so
amazing
slow.
to me every week.
Overcommit.
Maybe that's what it is.
But he is really good at finding the soft spots and zones, though. He's
Yes,
really
he
good at that. I would give him that.
Yeah.
He definitely is. So the Rams are going to trade Cooper Kupp. I don't know what they're going to get for him. He's kind of older now. was injured. Last year, they really went to Puka Nacua more than they did him. Still a good receiver, though. So if you're a team, say if you're the Seattle Seahawks, Bo, are you interested in Cooper Kupp?
Absolutely not. No. But the Steelers should be.
The Saints too.
The Saints, absolutely. Yeah, no, the Hawks, it doesn't make any sense. Because, I mean, who are you going to bump out of the way? Right? I mean, you're probably moving on from Tyler Lockett, right? Fair enough. But you still have another year of DK for sure. You got JSN, and Bobo has played great out of the slot, right? Are you going to put Kupp in the slot? Is Kupp going to take reps away from JSN, who looked great last year? He's not physically better than DK, even though I'm not a huge DK fan. So, I mean, on that roster, it doesn't make a ton of sense. But in a location like the Steelers that need more than one guy, that would be a huge pickup. The Saints, obviously, they're rebuilding that team, right? So they need bodies. So there's quite a few teams that should be interested in him, without a doubt.
I would think
I
the
just
Patriots.
see him go to like Tampa Bay. I think him and Tampa Bay alongside a returning Chris Godwin, like he could be that third receiver. I can see that happening. Also, that's predicated on Tampa Bay re-signing Chris Godwin since he's a free agent this year. But I can see a scenario where he's the third receiver on a possible championship contending team.
For sure.
Got the experience, that's for sure. Help out in the locker room, help out in the wide receiver room. I think he would help the Patriots. I mean, the Patriots are looking for guys with hands. That might help them out too. I don't know.
Anybody can catch the ball, we're interested in, yes. But you're not going to get him cheap, and I don't know if they're going to want to give up the capital it's going to take to get him. Well,
The thing that's funny.
He'd fit the Cowboys very well if they want to make that kind of move, I think.
Yep, I agree.
The thing that's funny is you won't have to give up much to get him. Think about this last, receiver trade group. I mean, your best receivers were getting a third, right? Like Devontae got a third. D-Hop got a third. Amari got a third and a fifth, I think. So, I mean, like you're actually getting really good talent for a pretty low draft pick, which didn't used to be the case, right? Like they used to give you high capital for some of these guys. And now it's like, yeah, you can have this guy. He's been great. He's kind of expensive for a third and a pack of Big Red. Like that's good. Like,
but I think the market got reset whenever Jerry Jones decides to give up a fourth round for Jonathan Mingo, right? Like,
yeah.
That might reset it to where maybe you look at that and say, okay, well, he's much better than Jonathan Mingo. Maybe we reset it. You give us a second round pick. I find it hard for him to get like a first round pick. Like I agree. I don't think he's going to be over the top with value. It's going to be someone that saves you. And again, like you have to be a contender if you're going to get Cooper Kupp because
I would think. I would think.
Well, do you think Jerry Jones doing that actually reset the market, or does the rest of the league look at Jerry Jones the way they also look at the Browns, where they're like, yeah, it's cute you did that. We don't care because no one else is going to do that.
That's what I was going to say. Maybe Jerry Jones is going to offer like 5 first-round picks for Cooper Kupp because it's Jerry Jones and he's anybody on this team.
Well, speaking of Myles Garrett, he wants to leave Cleveland, and he's going to demand the Browns are going to get something for him. There's no doubt about that. And I think a lot of teams are going to be interested in getting Myles Garrett. I really don't see no team that wouldn't want Myles Garrett. Could you give the Browns what they want for him? That's the question I have. What do you think, James?
Well, his statement told me that he wants to contend. He doesn't want to be like, I think what the general manager said, Myles Garrett is probably going to be like a Hall of Famer. That's not what he wants. He wants to, I'm pretty sure that's one of his goals, but his short-term goal is to be a Super Bowl champion. So that tells me that he wants to go to a team maybe to believe it or not, I would still put them in if they can get shipwrighted, the Jets. And Tampa Bay, there's rumblings that they're talking about potentially looking at trying to get Myles Garrett too, but it's going to be expensive. It's definitely going to be expensive. So you're talking about maybe a couple of first round draft picks because a defensive edge at that caliber is very expensive, man. They're hard to come by. You don't find guys like this. They don't grow on trees at all. And so I would say that if he goes to Tampa Bay, I'm not going to be happy about that, of course, being in New Orleans. And so I would prefer. I'm sorry, say that again.
Oh, no. I was talking about what's on the screen. Miles to Detroit is not going to happen.
Yeah, that's probably not going to happen. I agree. I mean, and they have Aiden O'Connell there already, and they have a decent booking, I think, outside of him. But once he recovers, yeah, I wouldn't give up anything if I'm Detroit. You got to figure out how you get your coaches in order before you add another piece like that.
Right.
I really think that Myles Garrett, though, he really wants to contend. I could see it. I mean, I'll be frustrated too if I was in Cleveland, and Cleveland haven't done anything since the Schottenheimer days. So.
The Browns' problem though is when you got a guy, they don't have any leverage here either to be able to get the max they could get back for him. They have no leverage because he's demanding a trade, and teams know they can't bring him back, and so they're going to try to lowball the Browns, and they may not get exactly what he's probably worth in a trade here.
Sure, and sounds like the Browns, doesn't it?
Either way, they wouldn't get value anyway. So,
what's his contract like? I really didn't even look at that. What type of contract?
So I think he's on the books this year for 2025. I think he's on the books for 31 mil. Then it drops down to like 19.
Sounds right. I think
7.
Sounds right.
Right. So it's not like it's a huge contract. Like for an edge rusher, that's value, at least for a guy like Myles Garrett. Right. For me, I'd like to see, and as much as I hate this team, I can see this scenario of Washington going out there and getting a guy like Myles Garrett. Right. Like he would fit on that Commanders defense, gives them more depth, more of an edge, and they are a contending team. As much as I hate to say that as a Dallas Cowboys fan, Washington is a contender, and that's a team that they've got a lot of cap space. They can find a way to restructure the contract for him. I think that would be like the front runner for him. So I wouldn't be surprised if he goes there.
He's as good as any number one pick you're going to get in the draft, even though there's some good defensive players in his draft, as Bo said. He's better. He's as better than anybody you're going to get in the draft.
Right.
100%.
And what you're going to get.
Think about the Cleveland fans, though. I mean, for years it's been a soap opera over there, going back to the 80s and Biner fumbling the football. And I mean, forever and ever and ever. And here you got one of the best defensive ends in the NFL, and now he wants out. I mean, when did the Cleveland fans kind of do what the Giants do? Start burning your season tickets, right? They did that after the fumble. When does Cleveland start doing that? Say, listen, you guys got to start doing something here.
Those Giant tickets didn't cost nearly as much money back in 1977, by the way.
Still, they were season tickets, Keith.
I think
in 1977 were 25 cents a piece. Like, oh
right. And no seat licensing there either. So
I think Browns fans already did it anyway. I believe they call them Ravens fans.
Wow.
Like if I'm a Cleveland Browns fan, this is par for the course, right? Like the 1 year where it felt like we were going to try to go all in and we're going to go after a quarterback. We're getting rid of Baker. We go out and we get Deshaun Watson. And then we guarantee him $230 million. And it's been just a downhill slide. And I saw a graphic the other day that was like, since that Deshaun Watson trade, what it cost them was 3 first-round draft picks, 2 third-round draft picks, a whole bunch of different players that were out there, Baker Mayfield, Amari Cooper, and now you're going to be losing Myles Garrett because of how dumb that decision was. If I'm a Cleveland Browns fan, like, sure, I'm despondent, but I've also pretty much come to accept this. Like, this is my toxic relationship, and I will stay with this relationship forever. I've gone this far. I got to see it through.
That sounds like a little. This sounds like a little Dallas. This sounds like a little Dallas Cowboy kind of what's the word I'm looking for? When we all get together and we kind of, we let you say things about the Dallas Cowboys, let it get out. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, no,
It's
it's not-
intervention. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like that's exactly what it is. But at least I saw the Dallas Cowboys win 3 Super Bowls. The Browns haven't seen their team do a damn thing, like ever.
No.
That's what I was going to say. Is at least the Cowboys have
wasn't that-
won historically.
I mean, they do have a championship in '59.
Wasn't that
Jim?
Uh-oh, he's bringing back the Browns in the 40s and 50s, guys.
But who was
There you
like?
go.
I don't think anybody on this panel was alive in 1959, right? Like,
I was being carried around in my mother's womb, but
I always refer to this. My dad was born in 1930, so he's the only person I know, and he's still with me today. He's the only person I know that could actually go back into his Rolodex and be like, I remember what it was like whenever the Browns were good. The only person.
Yeah, well,
And of course, that was pre-merger, right?
Exactly.
yes, they've never Super Bowl era. They're one of the few teams never been to a Super Bowl.
Exactly.
yeah.
Right.
Well, the last time Dallas won was on black and white TV, I think. So, it's,
No, it was still color. It was VHS, but it was still color.
VHS.
As each year passes by, I have to remind myself I was 11 years old the last time the Cowboys won a Super Bowl. I'm a 40-year-old man now with a kid that's older than I was whenever they won the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's why I was laughing at the Birmingham Stallion here. I'm 29.
Yeah, no,
I
I
haven't
saw
seen
that.
Dallas.
Get out of here, guy. You youngin.
I mean,
you
but-
whippersnapper.
but still not wrong. Where's the lie? Where's the lie?
yes. The NFL referee, wrong one. NFL removes end racism message from the end of the end zone. So, I was talking about this with Tip a little bit before. I don't know anybody that sees that. When I got to talk about the whole thing we talked about, I don't know anybody that sees that says, "Oh, okay, we'll stop that then." I mean, the NFL's got some juice, but I don't know if they got that much juice. You know what I mean?
So here's the thing. Like if they were to, and I actually talked about this morning, is if they were to have done this after the Super Bowl, right? If they had done it after the Super Bowl, no one would have thought twice about it, right? Because they'd be like, hey, you know what? It's just costing too much to put these messages at the end of the end zone. It's a bunch of man hours and they got to turn over the field, whatever, right? Especially on ones where it's like a shared field or whatever. But you've done it all year and you're dropping it for the Super Bowl. It just gives you like a bad storyline. Not because it actually is changing anybody's thought. It's just a weird time to decide to not do it, especially since it was already painted on the end line. So it's not even like it wasn't already there. They're just like, oh yeah, we're just going to paint over it now. Like that is some weird action that of course is going to get a story, because why, if you were going to do it, why wouldn't you have just finished the season out? So it's just kind of a bizarre ending to it.
So I've always thought of it in like two different like aspects, right? Like I have the deeper meanings as to why I think they get rid of it, but I also agree with Mac whenever he says just reading that in the end zone. That's not going to change anybody's mind, right? Like I've done local radio, and you have to do the remote, and you go out to the car dealership, and you're like, "Hey, I'm over here at the car dealership. Check out the great deals they have." That's not going to convince anybody to buy a damn car, right? Like
That's exactly.
it's exactly like for me, if that's the way you want to be, like you hate people just based off of whatever the hell it is, don't be loud about it, right? Like just kind of lean back a little bit, be quiet, do whatever it is you got to do. But any message that I give you isn't going to change your mind no matter where you get that message from.
Yeah, but it would also, but to have a parallel there, it would also be like through the whole commercial, you're like, this dealership is great. And then at the end of it, you're like, yeah, so come to, this dealership, I guess. Like, so as your sign off, rather than just like finishing the series, right? You're just like, oh yeah, and this place is kind of meh, so hope it works out. Like, because again, if it would have happened after the season, no one would have even thought twice about it. Like if
Or
it just wasn't there at the beginning of next season, no one would have thought anything of it. But because they're making a statement about pulling it out of it, it's like, well, now it's a story that didn't need to be.
If they, and I forgot what I was going to say here. To Mac's point, if they just removed it and never told anybody, would anybody even notice during the course of the game?
Not a chance.
I believe that somebody would have noticed, and it would have been people that have been complaining about reading and racism.
Yeah, good point. It was a silly comment by me as soon as I said it, because the people, the trolls would be looking for that for sure, right? So,
Yeah.
They would have been like, oh, wow, look at the NFL changing their message now. As racism finally ended, like that would have been the narrative that follows that.
Yeah. February 9th, it ended. It's a wrap. Racism over.
Sweet.
We're all good. We're all good.
I thought I'd never see it.
I can go to Alabama now. Sorry, guys. I apologize.
That was weirdly specific.
I'm telling you, whenever I lived in North Carolina, I had to drive through the South. I learned some stuff about myself.
Yeah, they'll let you know. They'll definitely let you know. There's no doubt about that. So we've had a few trades. Of course, the big one was Luka for Davis. Luka going to Lakers. Davis going to the Dallas Mavericks. Everybody thinks that the Dallas Mavericks are going to improve faster than the Lakers. But when I watch LeBron James and I watch the team, they look really good without Luka. Adding Luka there is just going to make them better. I mean, I don't. Davis gets hurt a lot. Davis is definitely going to improve their defense, no doubt. But that doesn't mean that the Lakers are going to be good 2 years from now. I think they'll be good this year with Luka playing there. What do you think, James?
Well, on paper, it sounds great, but when you have, in essence, virtually the same player, in LeBron James and Luka Doncic, it's just, and Luka, they're both ball dominant players, and it's just, and very much so less defensive players. LeBron has obviously pulled back a lot defensively. You can see he has his moments where he'll give you a good defensive game, but Luka has never been known as a defensive player. Now there's Kyrie, mind you, but you got to have somebody that's just really dominant on defense. And now that Jared Vanderbilt is healthy now, it really shows in their game that when you see, like you just mentioned, that they're good. A big part of that is having him on the floor, being a great defensive stalwart. And they're going to miss AD. They're going to miss AD in that regard, especially when it comes down to playoff time, when defenses ramp up. And often, it's just going to be a lot to contend with when you don't have those guys on those wings, or down low, somebody like AD to really, he was averaging maybe like 2 or 3 blocks a game, and when he first started out. So it's just it's time will tell. I think time will tell when you have those two, that you see them work it out and be on the floor. Because especially LeBron, and maybe I think he's down to like, what is his usage rate? Just like 30 minutes or something, like 30 plus minutes. I'm not sure. So, he used to dominate with that time, but he's not doing that anymore. So we'll see.
Well, I mean, but to your point, I think we've watched LeBron change his game where he can be off the ball, right?
Yeah.
And so now you get Luka in there. They're also looking at Luka as somebody that can move towards the future. So, I mean, LeBron's got a couple more years left and it's a wrap, right? So they got to be planning for what's next. What's funny about the Mavericks side is AD, outside of the last year and a half, has been injury prone. The other thing that's funny about AD to me and Kyrie is both of those guys are better when they don't have to be the guy. And anytime they've had to lead a team, they've shown, despite their amazing talent, they're not the guy. They're not that alpha dog that can run the show. And so now you have two of them on the team. Like, that is going to be hilarious to watch.
That's interesting.
I think there's like two major caveats here, though, right? Like, is Luka indeed going to stay in LA? Because if I'm Luka, I'm testing free agency and seeing, what can happen out there. The Dallas Mavericks already cost you $117 million, which just sounds like an insane number to think of. Or I talked about this on the show this whole week. I've been talking about conspiracy theories because why the hell not, right? What if Nico Harrison knew exactly what he was doing, traded Luka over there, gets AD, and now in free agency, Luka comes back home to Dallas.
Happens in baseball all the time. So,
There we go. That's right. Aroldis Chapman with the Yankees, right? Goes over, comes back.
Happens a lot.
I mean,
my question is this, though, and you're Tip, you're a Mavericks fan, I take it.
No. God.
No, I'm sorry. I thought you said you made a gesture earlier, made it sound like you were a Mavs fan.
No, I'm a San Antonio Spurs fan. Come on now.
It's come out since that they offered only one. Why did they not shop him around more, number one? Why do you only go to LA? I think you could have probably leveraged more teams involved, and more teams would have got involved. And it sounds like they went to Milwaukee and we're looking for Giannis, so who's going to be a free agent, I believe, as well. So that I would have made that trade. Now, I don't know if Milwaukee wants to make that trade.
Do you think this was pressure from even above the GM? You think this was pressure from the ownership group because they didn't want to drop $300+ million on him?
I do.
Because to not shop like that, I can't think of a GM worth their salt that wouldn't have made phone calls, right? Because you're trying to stay employed, right? You're trying to like, hey, let me grab some number ones, like let me get some stuff for this. This sounds like maybe ownership was like, hey, we want AD, make it happen.
Right.
That's all it could be. I mean, I can understand them wanting to move him because, he's on my physical fitness regimen. So I can see why they'd be worried about him in the future and not giving him big bucks. And, he turns out to be like Butterbean out there.
I mean, at the same time, he's been voted into the All-NBA 5 years in a row and was in the finals last year. That's no doubt. And led in minutes, right? So, I mean, that's pretty good for a dude out of shape.
Right. Well, again, at 25 years old, you get away with that, though. At 30, maybe not. That's what
that's what I was about to say. Like he's at his peak physical performance. This is the Adonis version of Luka Doncic, and he looks like a jar of mayonnaise.
Right. Hey, I resemble that remark.
He's going. He. You can tell that he's very upset about what happened. Clearly, and he should be.
Oh, without a doubt.
So I do think the Lakers will get the best of him this season. We don't know what he's going to be or whether he's going to be with them next season or not. Fine, we can all speculate. But this season, I think he'll give them. I mean, and he probably wants to see Dallas in the playoffs at some point, if he can get an opportunity to do it. So, yeah, I think they're going to do well, but I just don't know how well.
First of all, the Lakers love stars. They've signed stars throughout their history. They signed Wilt Chamberlain. They signed Shaq. This is another superstar. They will sign him to a multi-year contract. There's no doubt in my mind about that. Lakers can afford it.
Great.
They're going to sign up to a long-term contract, and they're going to try and build a team around him. No doubt in my mind. I don't think and as far as Dallas goes, Dallas made it to the championship last year with no defense. They still made it there. So I'm not saying Davis is bad.
They had defense. Maybe not with the two guys, but the big guys. They had those big guys that they got in an early trade. That really helped them. That put them over the top.
I'll give you that.
Can we talk about the third team in this deal? Because people tend to forget that there was a third team in this deal. The Utah Jazz getting absolutely fleeced because they got nothing. They got 2 second-round draft picks and whoever Jalen Hood Shafino is. Like, you're a part of this deal, and somehow, some way, you're the only team that got nothing out of it.
Watch
That's
that guy
an
just
alias I
randomly come
use.
out and win an MVP or something.
Yeah,
That guy's going to be the next Jordan, Jalen Hood Shafino. Get used to the name. I'm buying a jersey today.
6-man
That's
award.
really me. I use that name as an alias, so that's really me they traded for. They don't even know it.
I
know,
heard
Mac,
that. I heard that. Yes.
What they
I
don't
will
know.
say that
I
the
still
Lakers,
got ideal weight,
the
by the
trade
way.
deadline is this tomorrow, right? Yeah, it's tomorrow. So they still have an opportunity to grab somebody. I mean, I heard Rob Lincoln said in the short term they can't get a major superstar because there's not really anybody out there, but they can grab a couple of pieces here and there. It sounds like they're going to do that. But one thing was interesting. I will say one thing was interesting. The whole interview, Rob Lincoln never mentioned LeBron James' name. He never alluded to him. He never said anything. So that was interesting to me because I'm like, okay, he's not saying anything about them pairing together. He didn't say anything about that. So it could be speculation. To me, I'm thinking, okay, is LeBron going to be moved or is LeBron going to waive his trade clause? I don't think so, but no, we'll see.
But you're wrong. There is a big free agent out there that's trying to be moved, Kevin Durant. So he's going to the Knicks unless the Knicks don't want him, and then wherever else he goes, I don't know. So me and Keith,
It's not going to be the Knicks. I can tell you that.
The odds-on favorite is for him to go back to the Warriors.
He said today he has no interest in going to the Warriors. He said today.
Did he? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't blame him.
I think it would be a good redo myself, but apparently he does not. He's been there, done that.
Also, just to close the loop on our guy Jalen Hood Shafino, averaging 2 points a year or 2 points a game on
100 2 points a year. That guy's killing it.
100%
field goal percentage. So I mean, our guy's a baller. He's a baller.
That you said, and you brought you said the Jazz were forgotten in this whole trade. The Jazz have done a wonderful job of destroying a team that was on the rise just like 2 years ago.
Yeah,
this team was one of the better teams in the West the last 3-4 years until now. They've destroyed that entire organization.
But I mean, the whole thing with Danny Ainge was like Danny Ainge in Boston. He's getting first-round picks, doing all kinds of stuff. The best you can do is Jalen Hood Shafino and 2 second-round picks. Come on.
And of course, in the NBA, a second-round pick is nobody.
No.
I mean, didn't get 4 first-round draft picks for Rudy Gobert?
5.
And they couldn't do anything with that.
But I mean, you got the 5 for Rudy Gobert, so I mean, maybe you're like, you know what? I'm playing with house money right now. I don't need anything. I'm good.
Wow,
they're just going to take the entire draft.
Yeah, that could be. And
how many talking about De'Aaron Fox to the Spurs? I mean, come on, that's a huge trade. De'Aaron Fox playing alongside Victor Wembanyama. The Spurs are going to be on the come up. I am so excited as a San Antonio Spurs fan. I cannot wait for the Super Bowl to end so I can finally end this terrible football season that I've had as a Dallas Cowboys fan and start talking more about the NBA.
Now I know why he got pissed at me for saying he was a Mavericks fan. Now I get it.
So,
but I'll tell you what, the Spurs are going to be a dark horse to come out of the West this year. I think that team gels here in the second half. That's a big move. You're right, Tim, for sure.
I agree.
Well, they're definitely a playoff team.
They're a playoff team. I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. Major League Baseball fired Pat Holmberg, fired for sharing his betting account with a pro poker player. Sounds a little bit like a tall Japanese baseball player who decided to share his account with his best friend. So, why punish one and not the other?
What that shows you is that Shohei has a really good friend in Ippei, and whoever this dude is that got fired, he ain't got no friends. Like that's just how it comes down to. Ippei being like, I'll take the blame for you, my guy. None of us believe that Ippei did this all on his own. But we're all going to sit back and be like, you know what? That's a good friend. We all need a friend like Ippei Matsuhara.
Yeah, there's also a distinct difference in Ohtani is going to bring them hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue, and this ref isn't. So it also gets decided by the pocketbook a little bit here, where they're like, oh, let's find a loophole for Ohtani to not get banned for life. And we have we got a ref that his claim to fame is he called a perfect game in the World Series a couple years ago. Those are wildly different because the ref brings no value to your sport, really, other than not making bad calls, which obviously doesn't matter. And then, or a phenom that's going to bring hundreds of millions of dollars. Which one are you trying not to suspend? Oh, yeah, the one that's going to help fund your future.
we have no idea if this umpire could have been the next Jalen Hood Shafino.
You don't.
I feel like he's exactly that guy, actually.
I think
Maybe
I've
he's a
mentioned
relative.
that kid's name more than anyone has ever mentioned that kid's name. So
Yes, that's 10 more times than I've ever heard it ever today.
Yes. It just so happens to be on the same day that Pete Rose got barred from baseball for betting on baseball on his team as a manager and a player. So isn't that kind of
Conspiracy theory.
right? Same day. So I
There's
like
one thing everybody's forgetting here. There's tons of evidence against Pete Rose. There's evidence against this umpire. There's zero evidence of Ohtani being anything except stupid.
there was some.
There's a lot of evidence to that.
Give me one piece of evidence. One piece of evidence. Just one. Just
All right.
one. That's one.
I mean,
Alright.
can't we say now, like now that baseball has kind of embraced gambling, that we can just let Pete Rose into the Hall of Fame now and like Shoeless Joe Jackson? Like, why do
They
we
should have
need
always
these
been in.
fans?
They should have always been in. Warts and all. I feel that way about the steroids guys, the gambling guys. Put them in, warts and all, and tell the story, warts and all. It's all on their plaque.
Well, I
Tell
mean,
the story.
never
I agree.
Rose because he was a jerk. Like that's why. I mean, if he was even somewhat remorseful at all, they would have found ways to get him in. But because he doubled down and was just like a douche every time it came up, they're like, there's just no plausible way we can do it while he's alive. Do I think? he
But
will win?
there's so many douches that are in the Hall of Fame now.
Yeah.
I'm just like, wow. It's like,
Loaded.
it's like,
Yeah, but
man.
they didn't have reasons to keep him out, right?
Pete Rose
Yeah.
waited too long to admit what he did. And Pete Rose's other problem is he still believed that he never bet against his team, which maybe he never put it on paper and bet against his team. But what he didn't get was every time he didn't bet on his team, he was betting against his team. And that was a signal that he was sending.
Yeah.
Because he bet on them every time he thought they would win. So it's the same
to be
thing.
fair, that's the only time I would bet too.
Wow.
I'm trying to lose.
That is a more common sense, Bo.
so. Yes. And besides, he made a good living. He made a good living selling his cards, his signed cards outside the Hall of Fame all those years. So I mean, it's not like he, it's not like he didn't.
Put him in the Hall of Fame. They were waiting for him to die. He'll be in the Hall of Fame now. They just were never going to give him the pleasure of being inducted while he was alive.
But they gave him a death sentence, man. It's like, wow. Like, come on. Yeah.
So
I'm always going to think that's crappy to not give it to him while the man's on the earth. Give him his flowers while he's there.
So for Birmingham Stallion, he says, if I could say the name again, it's Ippei Matsuhara. So you gotta
There you go.
gotta look that up. But I will say this, right? I think the legend of Pete Rose kind of grew the longer that we stayed away from like him being in the Hall of Fame, right? Because if he's in the Hall of Fame, we're not talking about Pete Rose the way that we've been talking about Pete Rose for the last 40 years almost. So I think this is like bad publicity being a good thing for him, right? Like maybe that's what helped the legend of Pete Rose grow.
Well, and he leaned
possible,
into it. He leaned into it, right? Like he took that negative story and he's just like, okay, well, I'll just be a jerk on top of it. Like I'm just doubled down on it. But no, you're 100% right. If they'd have let him in, we'd have stopped talking about him.
And he's all over the Hall of Fame anyway. He doesn't have a plaque. That's the only thing he doesn't have in the Hall of Fame. Pete Rose is everywhere you turn in the Hall of Fame.
Maybe Pete Rose should have done the OJ route and been like, if I had gambled. Just write a book about if I had gambled.
Yes.
I did feel bad for Pete because Bud Selig, Rob Manfred, all these guys, Pete kept saying, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? And he'd go do it, and they still wouldn't let him in. They were just yanking his chain the entire time. They were never going to let him in.
Yeah.
No,
All right,
he
well,
was never going to get there.
I think he lied. He continued to lie about not betting. I think that's why they didn't let him in. I thought there was if I'm not mistaken, one of those commissioners was thinking about letting him in, but he just kept denying that he bet on baseball. And
Well,
that's
he
why
finally admitted he did. He wrote a book about everything that he did. He admitted he gambled and bet on the Reds. He just said he never bet against them. That was what he never would come forward with.
Well, yeah. I mean, like, if there was
He
ever
did
a
it,
way,
that's what I say. He did
if there was
everything
ever a
they
way to
asked.
change your image. Oh, good.
Yeah. All right. So,
Yep.
folks, we're getting close to the end of the show. I want to thank you all for joining us, all the comments, views, possible shares if you can later for us. This is the National Professional Sports Show with Mac, Tip, Keith, James, and Big Bo, as we will see you again next week. Have a great Wednesday, folks. We'll see you soon.